Well, hello there. Carol Dockum here with Beautiful Faces Going Places Women's Success Network. And I am so excited because we are back live, continuing with our business spotlight. And our special guest today is Rebecca Victor. Now, Rebecca is a personal empowerment and leadership coach. As a personal empowerment and leadership coach, Rebecca empowers women to transform their lives and live with greater freedom, self-awareness, and confidence, helping them to combine the power of their heart, mind, and intuition. She teaches them ways to live and lead from the inside out in integrity and joy with their life's purpose and passion. And she has been doing this for over 25 years. As a speaker, workshop facilitator, and team builder, Rebecca travels the country presenting to audiences who are looking for new ways to live, to lead, and to be in business that is respectful of the whole person. So please help me welcome Rebecca Victor with your joyful path and new podcast host of Living from Inside Out. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi, Carol. I just want to, you say, please help me welcome. I just want to have a round of applause. Yay. You hear that group out there going, yay. They don't know who she is, but they're going to clap anyway. Yay. Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here.
Oh my goodness. I am so happy to have you here today to really share who you are, what you do, and how you empower your clients and help them become the true leaders that they are innately born to be. And so I'd love for you to share your journey of how you came into this industry to become the empowerment coach and leadership coach that you are. And then I'd love to segue into your new podcast program because I was so honored to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to share that with the world. So, all right.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Actually, I got started in this business long before it was a business for me. It was something that was just kind of natural. It started even when I was small. I would go visit my friends and hang out in the kitchen and talk to their parents, and their parents would be talking to me, and they're like, all of a sudden they look at me and they're like, I'm talking to a child, and I would just sit there and listen, but it was just knowing that they needed a place and space to process. And I remember experiencing that with my mom. She would sit and play solitaire, and any and everybody would come in, myself, my siblings, friends of ours would come and sit, and so often it was just the opportunity to hear our own voice, to hear our own ideas, to have them expressed and not be shot down, and just be given space to propagate if the soil is fertile at that time. So it's kind of always been a part of me, and I really didn't think of becoming a business until about 2012 is really when I started looking at building a business. I mean, I do have my background in spiritual training and working with my clients on their own spiritual journeys. And in that, it was a pretty intensive training process because I had to look through, we were, went through a process of having to look through all the different belief structures that we had that we were aware of at the time, to see how they might impact our ability to be of service to those who would come, because it's not so much about what we believe as much as the ability to know that what they're needing for wherever they are in their journey will unfold for them in whatever path they're on, and whatever they're turning to for guidance. So there was more of that, how to encourage, and I loved it because it was mindset. That's really where I learned about the value of mindset, the value of paying attention to the words that we use. And even after all this time, there's still that growth level for me of being aware. And I have good friends that will pause and say, are you realizing what you're saying? And I'm like, no. And so they're like, and they repeat it. And I'm like, oh, because the words that are used and how they're used really set that tone. And so I've always been fascinated and believed that spirituality and science were kind of commingled, that there really wasn't a separation between the two. And so I always had a love for science. I didn't go into it, but I like to read and enjoy all the different studies coming out. And I really appreciate the researchers that do the work that I can kind of understand what they're doing and what they're realizing out of that. And one of the ideas was this concept of everything being energy. And if everything's energy, Max Planck, who was like the father of quantum physics, everything is energy. Einstein, same thing, equals mc squared. Everything is energy. And so first and foremost, if everything is energy, the thoughts that I hold, the emotions that I feel have energy. And if I'm holding thoughts and emotions that cause me to feel heavy or depressed or in a space that doesn't feel good, then naturally it's going to be like a magnet. I'm going to draw those conditions and situations I'm not intending to draw them to me, I'm just feeling bad. But all of a sudden that kind of an energy will start, I'm more available to those things in the world that kind of match what I'm feeling. And so as I began to learn more about the power of the words that I use and what they mean to me and how I feel when I use them, then I became aware of, wow, there's real power here within my ability to affect my life and draw the things that are meaningful. I mean, that's why you're in my life, Carol, and other women who I really, truly, when we sat and had that cup of coffee at in Springboro at that little place, that was so much fun. Sharing dreams and watching that. And it was like, wow, there's that like energy of dreaming of possibilities. And so that's staying in that openness of possibility. And so I thought, I am a natural teacher. That's what I'm here to do. I teach.
You are a natural teacher, and you also teach at the University of Dayton as well.
Yes, I teach at their Centers for Leadership, and I work with the leadership in women more from a mindset perspective, more from, I don't walk into a woman who is a leader in a company and tell her what to do. That's not my skill. My skill is, how can I help her to listen to the guidance that she's got going on inside, to trust the things that she's bringing to the stage, bringing to, how is she presencing herself? And who is it that she says she is? Because that's where I think we as women are growing. It's like, how do we own our personhood, our value, the things that we are, and not necessarily have to look outside of ourselves for the validation for that in order for it to be real and to be valuable and to be useful and to build a viable career with that. So that's kind of a lot of what I do when I do the leadership program at UD with women. It's like, have you given thought? How do you presence yourself? How do you speak? I've been reading some great books, and I apologize because I do not know how to say her last name, but one I've been reading was Mika, I think is her name, and she is one of the hosts on the Morning Joe show. And I decided, I thought, well, let me read it. Well, I really, really enjoyed her book because it was just very real. And really what it came about was this idea of her own sense of her own value, her own sense of how she had to work harder in order to prove herself, that somehow someone would recognize her. And yet within her own self, it's like she didn't have a sense of the value she was bringing. And until that unfolded, she didn't have a language or the way in order to bring that forth that was authentic to who she was. And so she reached out to many women in fields and asked them. And it was amazing to see how every woman is evolving in her own way and learning how she wants to play this game of business and how she wants to contribute to it. So it's really that kind of touched my heart because I know what it is to start this business. And I don't know if you've had this, Carol, where I started this business and then all of a sudden it hit a point, like things were going, oh yeah, great. But they were going so good that all of a sudden something, it's like something twisted inside I want to say my heart, but right in my chest, that was like, this is too good to be true, shut down on it, and I boom. And as soon as I felt that happen, I thought, oh man. And I knew that I knew that something deep within me had been tapped that I needed to resolve. And it was that sense of my own worth, my sense of my own value, my own purpose. And so my business became this calling to do this, because that's what it was. Like you're calling for beautiful faces when you were talking about how you sat out in that audience and boom, you knew. You
Yeah,
just, there it was, right?
that's
And
I knew.
yeah, yeah. And it's like, yes. And it becomes a beautiful ground of learning and uncovering. And because of this journey, it feels good to know that I get to bring more of who I am. I get, first of all, to discover that I'm more than I ever thought. And then I get to start bringing that as well and sharing that with others and inviting that from others. And so really that's how, for me, it began to unfold. And when I work with my clients, it's realizing that they're on a phenomenal path of discovery. And sometimes when we're on that path, I don't know about you, Carol, but I don't see except from an old point of view. And I need that extra eye set to say, are you sure this is really who you think you are?
Right.
Have you ever
Right.
thought you're more than that? Yeah. Have you ever had
Yes.
that? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes we don't see because we're living in that space, that place, and we're living within inside of ourselves, and we don't see what others see. So
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes. And I love how you really we're all on a journey is my perspective, of evolving and learning and growing. And I know like you, I'm a lifetime learner.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't see what others see, and it's important to surround yourself with others who can open your eyes
Mhm.
to new perspectives or um, yeah, and at some point for me on my journey, I came to the realization that, I can do this.
Mhm.
I am I am worthy.
Mhm.
And sometimes we just, there's a lot going on underneath subconsciously and we don't even know it,
Mhm.
and those whatever it is, whether their fears, their doubts, whatever it is that's holding us back,
Right.
it's unconscious and we're not even aware of it until we're working with somebody who can help draw that
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
And then once you are really conscious and aware of, as you said, the words that you're using, your
Mhm.
thoughts, your feelings, and how important they are, and how, once you understand that realm of how you can create your own reality by changing the way that you think, which will affect the way you feel, which will affect the choices and the actions and the reactions that you live through, or you put
Mhm.
forth out into the world. So it's a very powerful place to be in when you really truly understand how the universe works,
Mhm.
or how this journey of life works. So
Mhm.
and I think you've been on that journey of
Mhm.
discovery and growth and development personally. And then, as you mentioned, I think you said it was 2012. You said, you know what, now I can help others, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and to really help is, to me, walking my own journey so that I can be authentic within me and integrity with what I'm sharing, and be present as someone else is processing their own journey, their own stuff. And when you talked about how you're reaching out, when we were talking, I think it's so important to make sure that who it is that we're communicating these kinds of things to are ones that are aligned with us in our thoughts and in our intentions. I if someone is afraid of stepping out, I'm not going to go and share my dream,
Right.
because the best they can give me is the viewpoint they're coming from, which is one of fear. And all of a sudden, this little tiny sprout that's popping out, or maybe a seed, doesn't even have an opportunity to germinate, because in my pensiveness, I listened to a voice that sounded logical, that sounded reasonable. All right. but really was fearful. And it didn't even give me it wouldn't even give me a chance if I paid attention to it. So I look and say, who can I turn to that will help me see the possibility, so that I give permission for it to even have a chance to evolve. It's kind of like, I remember when I was working in the school system, and on the doors of many teachers, there'd be that quote from Ford, whether you can or you can't, it's up to you. You're
Right.
the decision maker on that.
I love that quote.
Don't you? I mean, it's just like spot
Yes.
on.
Yes.
And so it's like, it doesn't matter whether what we're believing, the belief that we're holding at any given time is that which is affecting our life, in that moment, and down the road too. But I mean, it's like, okay, so how can I, whether you do, whether you don't, it doesn't matter, it's all happening, the wheels are rolling. But by the same token, that kind of idea isn't one about fear as much as it's one about awareness and saying, okay, if this is happening, then what can I do to affect a better experience for me?
That's right. What
Yeah.
can I do? How can I change my thoughts, my feelings, my beliefs? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I probably think about that quote a couple of times a week. Whether you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right.
That's it.
And it's like, whoa. If you think you can't, well, let me tell you.
You can't. Yeah, it's like, dang.
If you think you can, you can. I know you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Where there's a will, there's a way. Exactly. And you may have to go through a process and
Yeah.
jump in, do it perfect, not perfect, just do it.
Do
And
it.
I always say tweak it along the way. So
And that's what I really enjoy about you, watching you as you have built beautiful faces going places. I mean, you've just stepped out there and, okay, well, let me try this, and
right.
not waited, not planned, and not,
Yes.
and I really respect that. I
Well,
respect that
thank
a
you.
lot. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
because it's a good example for me. So thank you.
Yeah. No, I know. I think about, I spent 2 years researching the how,
Yeah.
and then finally I said, okay, enough is enough of getting ready to get ready.
Uh-huh.
One more webinar, one more certification, one more, you have everything within
Yeah,
yourself to
that's right.
launch, and it's go
Mhm.
time. And it's crazy once you make that mental shift.
Yeah.
If there's
Yeah.
something that you truly want to do to create, whether it's launching a business or writing that book or launching your podcast or ebook, whatever it is, creating that course, it's go time. Just create
Yeah.
it, put it out there, deliver it, do the best that you can,
Mm-hmm.
and learn from that experience,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm sure there's always room for improvement.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, it's like riding a bicycle.
That's right.
You're
That's
in
exactly right.
you're in your flow, you're in your game, and
That's right.
it's like, whoa.
Look at here. I'm
Exactly.
riding my bicycle without handles. Yeah.
Exactly.
Without holding on.
You remember that moment.
Oh yeah. I remember that moment, and all of a sudden you got that balance. You're just like, look at that.
That's right.
Woo. I'm not
Big
falling onto the
breathe.
ground. Yeah. Skin in my hands and knees.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
love it, Rebecca.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your new podcast that
Sure.
you just launched.
Mhm.
And I think it's just awesome and amazing.
Mhm.
Number one, you have got the most incredible energy about you,
Mhm.
and voice as well. So I love listening to your voice. It is so calming and energetic at the same
Mhm.
time. So I'm really excited about your new podcast launch, Living from Inside Out. And it really is such a natural next step from your empowerment and leadership coaching to a new space, a new way of getting your message out into the world. So
Right.
I'm so excited for you. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And yes, let's talk about this, your new podcast program.
I'm very excited. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's called Living from Inside Out. And I think it was birthed actually this year, the concept, because I started looking in my own life and realized that, there are all kinds of experts, just like there are all kinds of coaches, and there's all kinds of teachers, and there's all kinds of people who have ideas. But how do we know the one that's right for us? It's like, how do I know the one that works for me? And part of how I have begun to know that is to learn to listen, to pay attention inward, to listen to the cues that when I experience them, I know I'm on the right track. And so I wanted to provide a very simple, a beginning with a very simple ideas of what is this thing we call turning inward. There are many people from different walks of life, different spiritual backgrounds, traditional religious backgrounds, and this isn't about it looking a certain way, because it's unique for each person and everybody's journey is unique. And what works for one person isn't going to work for another, because we all have a different life path we've been walking, different things that have been meaningful. So it's not going to always be the same. Even if we use the same phrase, we're going to picture different things, or it's going to touch us differently. So the idea of turning inward is how do we trust us? How do we trust that that's something inside of us that is more than we ever thought we were? And as we kind of get quiet, we become aware of that. When we're focused out in the world, we can get frightened and we can operate out of fear. And when we operate out of that fear, we operate out of stress and tension. And all of a sudden, the possibilities that are out there begin to do this. They just get smaller and smaller and tighter and tighter. And then we wonder why there's such a struggle. But as we begin to turn inward, play with different exercises, techniques, listen to what people have to say, what registers when I hear them say that, and then play with it, all of a sudden, there's just an awareness, or an awareness is, I think, the best thing. There's just awareness that there's something else. We can give it whatever name we want it, that's most meaningful to us, but there's something else. And the whole idea is, what is that something else? And as I'm paying attention or asking that question, what do I find myself seeing that's drawing my attention? Ooh, look at that book. Oh my gosh, did you hear that? And that I would have never paid attention to before. And so that's that whole idea that constantly, as we're opening up to a greater understanding of ourselves by turning inward, it helps us, at least for me, it helps me live a life that's much more expansive, that's filled with much more possibilities, that opens me up and has me meeting people like you, Carol, or other individuals in my life who have just been awesome powerhouses. Even if all I've done is met them one time in a grocery store standing in line, and whatever they had to say in that moment just caused me to laugh and open my heart up, and then boom, or maybe it was something profound. Maybe it was something that the cashier said. I don't know. And I mean, it just happens in all kinds of ways, but that journey inward helps me to become aware of how life is constantly communicating to me. And I believe it is a beautiful thing. And if I'm not hearing beautiful things, then often what I am hearing is the fearful ideas that have been stimulated in the world to cause fear. And so that's why I started the podcast. Who knows how it's going to evolve? I'm excited. I really hope that when people listen, that they provide ideas and feedbacks so that it kind of grows organically. So,
Yes.
yeah.
No, I absolutely love that. And, when you were talking about, living from the inside out, really listening to whether you call it intuition, the voices in our head, our gut instincts. But it's hard to see those moments in time where, an idea comes to you, or as you mentioned, you see something and you go, oh my gosh, maybe I need to pick up that book, or maybe this is a new tool I could be using in my business, or, but you're open to it because you're in a calmer place or a calmer state of mind. And as you said, then you're open to expansion versus being in that place of overwhelm, stress, fear, like
Constriction.
yes, exactly.
Protection.
Because then you don't see all the possibilities that are out there that may, cross your path or come your way. So I totally see that. Yeah.
Right. And it's not that, it's that, when we're viewing through those eyes, and let me put it this way. I'm going to shift it. I think when we take the time to get to know ourselves and that, then what I feel, at least in my journey and in people that I've talked to on theirs, we build a sense of trust. And I think it takes time for some people, not as much for others. And it doesn't matter how much, because everybody's journey is unique and important and valuable. And it's like, where am I on my journey today? And, because there have been times in practicing, like I've said, Carol, I'm thinking, oh gosh, you would think after 25 years, I'd know that, especially with the practice, right? No, I know it, but that doesn't mean something doesn't come up. And all of a sudden I'm facing an issue that I got to look, and it's like, what do I want to believe in? Something's starting to come up that's causing me fear. And as I've learned more and more by doing this, then there's greater comfort. There's a greater sense of trust in what's being shared with me, because my biggest thing is I have a strong mind, a lot of logic, and my mind can get in there, and I'm like, I'm sure the rest of us can go, well, you better be careful, because it's really easy to go for the things that feel good, because everybody wants things to feel good. But, when you're going for the things that feel good, you're really denying the fact that there's other realities in the world, and you could experience that reality all because you're living Pollyanna. It's all this mind, this logic, but if you prepare yourself, if you do X, Y, and Z, then you can make sure that you're safe and fortified and nobody can get you. And it's that kind of thought process at times that's like rapid fire. It's not like it takes as long as I even explained it, but it's like, is that how I want to engage in the world? And what am I being called to open to learn to trust, so that I can experience more? Does that make sense?
It makes total sense to me.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love it. I love what I've discovered about me. I like that I'm much more than I ever thought I was. And I like the fact that in seeing that in me, I get to experience that in others. Then I see somebody standing next to me and they're just wiped out. Like one time there was a mom and she was just toast. The kids were going around and looking. There's a whole bunch of ways minds can go, and seeing that scenario, and mine could go. And I'm like, who is this woman? And smiling, it's recognizing, like me, she is this beautiful being going through her life, trying to live it as well as she can, knowing, not really understanding that there's so much more to who she is. And if I can see it, just to celebrate that in her, then what kind of energy am I sending out? Because people have seen that in me. Teachers growing up have seen that in me. And because they see that in me and they believe that, I could live up to that. Does that make sense?
It makes
It's like,
total sense.
yeah, it's their energy. And it's like, ooh, I really like that. I want that for myself. And so if I can do that too, then it's a tribute to those who have done it to me and to the life that I think we're all part of. So
I absolutely love that. Absolutely love it. So Rebecca, this has just been amazing, an amazing time with you. And if our viewers would like to learn more about living from the inside out, where is the best place for them to reach you, contact you, learn more about your programs that you offer, and also your podcast program, your podcast show?
Well, my podcast show is really on all it's like 14 different podcast networks, where you can go, the different platforms. So any of the major ones, you can find that there. But you can also go to my website. And my website is simply yourjoyfulpath.com. And when you get there, there's information that you can play with and explore, learn more about me if you're interested, or go right to the podcasts. And then the programs and what's available at that time are on that page, as well as on different social media platforms that I use.
So it's easy to find you. You're everywhere, Rebecca.
It's like, no.
Uh, and so let's talk a little bit about your workshops and the types of leadership type programs that you also facilitate. So if there are any corporate individuals that are listening in, women in business, entrepreneurs, and they're looking for workshop facilitators, I want to make sure that they can find you as well.
Okay, sure. I actually do a couple of things. I have a program that I have that goes on all throughout the year, and it's just creating the life that the creating the life you love from the inside out, and that's simply a very entrant kind of level experience for people who are curious and want to know. And I take them through the process of the inward journey as well as how to create an outward vision, and then we move that process that through that cycle 3 times in the year. And that way they get a sense of, because people are going, oh, I've done this. I thought I would have taken care of that. Well, things keep coming up, and it doesn't mean you're failing. It means that you've moved through whatever, and now you're ready to see how it's impacting you at this level and letting go of it and moving forward. So it's that kind of thing. And then I do private groups. I do private individuals, and I have small groups that provide that. I do small leadership trainings for women who want to come in a small group, and for companies, I do a lot of with team development, helping innovation and team, and getting people on the right page, getting a sense of own personal ownership in a project and how to bring that to fruition authentically for all the members. I've had women say, can we do something where we incorporate men in this whole process? And so, yes, I have created that, which is, what would it be if we invited emotions into the business place? So going into a company and working with women and helping them to own their own sense of presence and purpose and value, and bringing that to their projects, bringing that to their life and impacting the life of that corporation. So those are some of the things that I do as well.
I think that's amazing. There are so many ways that you can work with Rebecca Victor. Rebecca, thank you so much. You're joyfulpath.com. And I cannot wait to tap into your new podcast program, Living from the Inside Out. So thank you so much, Rebecca. This has been such a joy, such a pleasure. You can also catch her on LinkedIn, social media, and at Beautiful Faces Going Places as well. She is listed in our business directory on our success team. All right. Have a fabulous day. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank you, Carol. It's been a blast.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.